All right, let's do Big 12 picks. Ready?
Sure.
Missouri at Kansas State.
I'll take K-State.
I'm taking K-State.
Right.
I think it's interesting to have this rivalry kind of reignited. That's cool, kind of how that's all happening all at once. Here in these, like just this week alone, you get a preview of the new and a little bit of the old as well. So I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, give me K-State. Although, Adrian Martinez, not like we saw him set the world on fire in week number 1, but Deuce is their bread and butter, and that's not going to change.
He was huge in their opening win, the shutout win. Missouri at Kansas State. I'll take K-State as well. I'm going to skip. We'll move down to Texas and Alabama at the end. Iowa State and Iowa. Iowa coming off that very difficult offensive struggle in their game this past weekend, but they are still favored by just over a field goal in this game, and they have pretty much run this rivalry.
Yeah, I think that, and that's probably why they are. But I'm going to take Iowa State to finally break the curse here. I think that after what I saw, struggling to score a touchdown and not even scoring one against South Dakota, I think I'll take Iowa State in this one.
I think they would be embarrassing for Iowa State to lose this game after what we saw Iowa. If you want to use the word muster last week, I understand it's on the road, and I understand that Iowa's dominated this series. But okay, at what point are they going to be susceptible enough that you're going to break that streak? If this was at Ames, I would be curious to see how the score would change in people's minds. But even with it being on the road, come on, Iowa State, you could score more than this team, right? Right? You can score more than this team. I would hope so, even if there's been a lot of change over there. But, yeah, Hunter Deckers is going to muster enough points in my mind.
Max Olson did a feature on him, by the way, theathletic.com. Iowa has won 13 of the last 18. They've won 6 in a row. And 2 years ago, there was that dramatic 18-17 game. They've been in overtime back in 2017. They've won 13 of 18, 10 of the last 13, and 6 in a row, and they lead the series in a very one-sided fashion. And that's the way it is with a lot of traditional series, no matter what, 46-22. I'm going to take the Hawkeyes to bounce back with a much more respectable performance despite the dumpster fire offense in the last weekend.
Of course you would, because you like Kirk Ferentz and, his old school steam engine brand of football.
No, I don't. I like winning. And they have won 2/3 or 75, 80%.
I get
of the
that,
series.
but at what point, is Iowa State saying okay, we could be better than this team, so that's where I'm coming at this is I saw how pathetic that was last week. I don't think that Iowa's rediscovering some offensive electricity in the last few days, but yeah, they do own it, so I understand the pick.
Let's say this: Iowa State has had some of their best years ever. Right, recently, They've still lost 6 in a row to Iowa. Now, Iowa's been good. They've been ranked. They've been in the Big Ten picture, especially in the West. But they've still won 6 in a row against a team that was better than they've ever been. It's just one of those weird deals when that series. If I'm wrong, it's great for the Big 12 with Iowa State winning if they do.
Yeah, if you're wrong, you're wrong. I'm not really argue and stretch out this point, but there's no hype around Iowa State right now. If there was a time to jump up and beat Iowa, I think this is the time to do it because there are literally no expectations on your shoulders, which is when you've thrived. Last year when you had weight on your shoulders, you tried to pretend both teams were just having fun all year long, Matt Campbell. So, yeah, come on. This is a rivalry game. Iowa State should be fired up. There's not a lot of pressure on them, I don't think. And so, yeah, go out there and get yourself a big win over a Big Ten team.
Houston at Texas Tech. I've taken Tech on the graphics that Levi will put together for our Twitter feed and social media.
I'm taking Houston. I just got a feeling. I do. I've got a feeling Houston's going to win this one. They lost last year. I really like Clayton Tune, and I picked him on the big one too. I can't just go ahead and waffle when it comes to Thursday. So I'll keep with my pick of Houston.
Well, I guess I waffled earlier because I just flipped my pick 30 minutes ago. But, yeah, I flipped it to Houston, and that's nothing more than just a hunch and just a feeling. I just went back and forth on this game. I'm in a really hard spot with Texas Tech because there's too much emotional tie there. Not emotional on a personal level, but I can't get a good read of Joey McGuire because my mind's kind of clouded by believing he's going to do really well. And so I think sometimes I feel like I'm hurrying along their success, and other times I think I'm not asking enough of them. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know where they fall in this game. So
you mean asking enough of them, but you've mentioned they're a bowl team and they should be a bowl team again.
Right, but like I just said, is I go back and forth between believing that they should be a bowl team and there's no doubt about it to, oh yeah, it's still a first-year team. Like I don't know really where to fall. Like I go back and forth on their expectations and my expectations for them based on what I know. So the only thing that really gives me pause here is the fact that the game's in Lubbock. I mean, I don't know. I got a weird feeling about Houston. I think that they've got more going in their favor right now. But that's going to be a tough place to play. But yeah, I flipped to Houston.
Kansas at West Virginia. West Virginia coming off the disappointing loss, although incredibly competitive game with Pitt. It's in Morgantown.
I went with West Virginia in this game. Kansas looked better, but I'm not going crazy over them beating, a team that they should typically beat, only not in recent years because they've been the laughingstock of all of college football. They're not the laughingstock anymore, but I still like West Virginia better.
Paul?
Yeah, I'll take the Mountaineers.
I take the Mountaineers. Kent State at Oklahoma. Do we have to discuss it?
No, Oklahoma's going to roll.
All right. Arizona State at Oklahoma State. Herm Edwards and the Sun Devils coming into town to take on Mike Gundy and the Cowboys.
I was hoping this would probably be a better matchup than it was eventually, but that it's probably going to turn out to be. I think Oklahoma State rolls them. There's too much going on at Arizona State. The talent is completely lopsided when it comes to Oklahoma State versus Arizona State. I don't think it's even going to be close.
I think there's some things to like about Arizona State. I understand all the extracurricular stuff. I don't know how much that's still really hanging in the air right now. I'm sure it is to some level, but they were able to get a win out in their first game, and there's some players to like. But yeah, it's a little bit of a mess, and even if it wasn't, I'd still take Oklahoma State. They're back to big, high-scoring offense. We're going to see a lot of that in the Big 12 this year, and how that conflicts with all of the strong defense that's been built the last couple of seasons, in particular around the league. It's going to make for some really interesting games, but give me Oklahoma State, and I think they'll breathe easy at the end.
Arizona State, I'll take Oklahoma State. Arizona State has Oklahoma State this week, and then in 2 weeks they play Utah, which will be a couple of you'll find out pretty quickly who they are, if not for sure this weekend anyway. All right, TCU home against Tarleton State. With all due respect to Tarleton State, I think across the board TCU. Was it Darius Davis that made a bunch of plays for him? Young, good-looking player for them. They're at home, the TCU. Baylor at Brigham Young. I've said 30-27 Baylor, and I've gone back and forth on this throughout the entire week. That Dave Aranda running into the storm analogy about Buffalo, I just feel like that, again, that doesn't mean they win the game, but I like the way that he's kind of put that mentality in their head, so I'll take them by a field goal.
I think Baylor wins this one. I think it'll probably be pretty close. I think I said 27-23 on the website. But I think it'll be a very, very close game.
I think Baylor wins. I haven't really felt any reason to back off of that. I've thought long and hard about the travel and the late night kickoff and all of that stuff. I think that will certainly play a factor, but I think they've also been preparing for all of those things basically since they beat Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl. As soon as they turned their jerseys in and got back to work on 2022, that's basically been something he's hammered home. So if they can't go out and beat a quality team on the road at this point, I don't know when they're going to. So I expect them to do that this weekend. And, it'll probably be a close game. But I'm taking the Bears.
I think if it goes well, then you still have a chance to set yourself up for a tremendous record at the end. If you don't, you could be looking at trying to scratch and claw to get yourself to 7-8 wins. And so this is part of it right here on the road against Provo. And then Alabama at Texas, 2 big-time, all-time type wins, bowls, appearances, etc., down in Austin.
Texas will do enough early in the game to get Twitter excited about something, and then Alabama will roll them. That's what I think. They have too much depth, especially along the lines where Texas is the weakest. This is a great matchup of brands, but ultimately, Bama's too good.
Bama's a very good team. I mean, they're the number 1 team in the country. So, that's where they are. And Texas flirting with the back end of the top 25. And there's that much of a gulf, but there's a much larger gulf than that in terms of where the programs are. I think this is a great measuring stick game just to kind of get somewhat of a pulse on where Texas is talent-wise and just Sark-wise compared to a program that's obviously been under the same vision and has been built strong and has just continued to add to that foundation to become, basically the strongest program in America. That's what Texas wants to be. That's what they act like. And this is why they hired Sark, was to basically, become Alabama one day. So I don't think anybody's expecting a win, but crazy things do happen early in the season. Having said that, I'm still thinking that Alabama rolls when all is said and done.
All right. Someone Provo Cougar said 45-10 Bama. Bama will beat UT by more points than they did Cincinnati. And, yeah, we see a little bit of that little smoke out there about us and being homers, and that's fine. We had Kalani Sitake on. We try to give you every particular angle. That's a prediction. It's a gimme game. BYU is favored, though, in that game in Provo.
It's like you can't even pick the team that you cover because then you're automatically a homer.
Yeah.
But I just want to say this. If we're wrong, then guess what? We'll be here to talk about it. If we're right, then text back and tell us how much homer we were.
When we come back, Mickey Spagnuolo